Barak Shalom, everyone. It's Out the Box Kingdom. Talk with me, Out the Box Kingdom. I hope you all are having a wonderful yom. I thought I would come on here right quick because I wanted to talk to y'all about something. And this ain't to come on here and start nothing. This is just to express more truth. Now, y'all probably hear right now that it is pouring down, raining, like the Shemians just opened up over my house. It's a straight up downpour. But I give all praise to the Most High Yahuah for the rain, because it's supplying my garden what it needs, which is his nourishment. Okay, so anyway, and that's not what the message is about. So, we have some our brothers and sisters always coming on here refuting about, the Gentiles, that Yahusha just coming after his children, Yashriel, and that the Gentiles won't receive any inheritance and things like that, right? Well, I'm going to come from the Testament of Yov today, y'all. And I want y'all to hear something very clear in regards to the Testament of Yov, because it's going to blow y'all mind of what I'm getting ready to read to y'all. And y'all need to go read this for yourselves. Once again, that's why it's so important for y'all to read the apocryphas. So this is coming from the Testament of Yov. On the day he became sick and he knew that he would have to leave his bodily abode, he called his 7 sons and 3 daughters together and spoke to them as follows: Form a circle around me, and children, and hear, and I shall relate to you what the Yahuah did for me and what happened to me, for I am Yov, your father. Know ye then, my children, that you are the generation of a chosen one, and take heed of your noble birth. For I am of the sons of Esau. My brother is Nahor, and your mother is Dinah. You know who Dinah was. By her have I become your father, for my first wife died with my other 10 children with bitter death. Hear now, children, and I reveal unto you what happened to me. And I was a very rich man, living in the east of the land of Ustias, before the Yahuah, and before he had named me Yov, I was called Yobab. The beginning of my trial was thus. Near my house there was the idol of one worshipped by the people, and I saw constantly burnt offerings brought to him as an Yahuah. Then I pondered and said to myself, is this he who made the Shemian and the Eretz, the sea and us all? And how would I know the truth? And in the Layla I laid asleep, and a voice came and called, Yobab, rise up, and I will tell thee who is the one whom you wishes to know. This, however, to whom the people bring burnt offerings and libations, is not Yahuah, but this is the power and the work of the seducer Satan, by which he beguiles the people. And when I heard this, I fell upon the Eretz, and I prostrated myself, saying, O my Yahuah, who speakest for the salvation of my soul, I pray thee, if this is the idol of Satan, I pray thee, let me go, and hence and destroy and purify this spot. For there is none that can forbid me doing this, as I am the king of this land, so that those that live in it shall no longer be led astray. And the voice that spoke out of the flame answered to me, you can purify this spot, but behold, I announce to thee what the Yahuah ordered me to tell thee, for I am the arch messenger of Yahuah. And I said, whatever shall be told to his servant I shall hear. And the arch messenger said to me, thus speak the Yahuah, if you undertake to destroy and take away the image of Satan, he will set himself with wrath to rage war against you, and he will display against you all his malice. He will bring upon you many severe plagues and take from you all that you have. He will take away your children and will inflict many evils upon you. And then you must wrestle like an athlete and resist pain, sure of your reward. Overcome trials and afflictions, and when you endure it, I shall make the name renowned throughout all generations of the elect until to the end of the world. And I shall restore you to all that you had, and the double part of what you shall lose will be given to thee, in order that you may know that Yahuah does not consider the person, but gives to each person who deserves the good. And also to you shall it be given, and you shall put on a crown of amaranth, and at the resurrection you shall be awaken for eternal life. Then you shall know that the Yahuah is just and true and mighty. Whereupon, my children, I replied, I shall from love of Yahuah endure unto death all that will come upon me, and I shall not shrink back. Then the messenger put his seal upon me and left me. So once again, Abba's no respecters of person. He has no favorites, and that's in scripture. Yeah, he has people he is coming to revenge, but he also have people that he's going to grab in. And on that note, Yov, or should I say Yoab, before Abba changed his name, was found worthy in the sight or the eyes of Yahuah. He placed a mark on him, and guess what? He came from the lineage of Esau. He was a son of Esau, but he was married to a Hebrew woman, which was Dinah. So, and to my understanding, Dinah was the daughter of Jacob. Look at that. She was raped, remember? But you see, she got remarried. She was allowed to marry Yov, which was not in her tribe, but Esau's. And they created children. And she was his second wife, not first wife. So this was his second set of children, not the one that got killed for doing birthday ritual. This was his second set. This was in his time of restoration. Once again, proving that as long as you turn back to Abba Yahuah and recognize him as Yahusha as your Savior, you will receive 100-fold blessing. It has nothing to do with this or bloodline. So once again, that whole teaching that Abba's only coming after his children, the Gentiles are going to receive their inheritance too. You know what I'm saying? And Yov just proved that. So go read that for yourself. I don't come on here to argue. I just come on here to read straight from the source. You know what I'm saying? And all these years we thought Yov was a Hebrew man. And look at here. He's actually a son of Esau. So, I was no respecter of person. Like it says, he shall give, and also these shall be given, right? But Abba only gives to those who he think that deserves. He felt like Yov, even though he told Yov what he was going to go through, when you renounce all this and you go against Satan, this is what you're going to go through. And Yov did not back down. He was warned. But he did tell him what the outcome was going to be as he endures. That he was going to get 100-fold of what he lost. And that's what he did get. He did receive 100-fold of what he lost. He was probably once a worldly man, even though they say he was blameless. You know what I'm saying? Abba did restore him 100-fold. So, go back and read the Testament of Yov. This is why it's so important to read the apocryphas at this moment and hour. Because we've been, once again, still taught error. And I'm just coming straight from the source. But once again, this is how Abba is separating wheat from the tares and understanding what he's really doing here in the arrests as we in the later times. So part 2, what I was saying about the story of Yov. I just got finished reading it. And Yov went through some stuff, y'all. He was the example of the suffering, the long suffering. How he lost everything. How Satan came in different forms. How Satan tried to use his wife's mouth. Literally, y'all, it got so bad. His wife was trying to get bread for them. Job was sitting on dunghill. He got worms coming out of his body, like his smell was just of decay. But his soul was so strong and literally still praising the Most High Yahuah, and Satan couldn't stand it because what made Yov be so wealthy is when it came to the things that he owned, he was taking care of the people that didn't have much. He literally had a table set up where if anybody was hungry, they can just come there and eat. He gave people jobs that needed jobs. Sometimes he would give wages to people and they didn't want to give it, but he's like, take it. You know, he took care of the poor, the fatherless, the orphans. That's what he used his resources from. And Satan could not stand that for his life. And so that's why, you know, when Satan went up there and Abba was like, have you thought about my servant Yov? You know what I'm saying? That's when, you know, when Satan came to visit him in a form of a stranger of some sort. And Yov gave him burnt bread instead. Yov was like, you know, whatever it is you're getting ready to do, just do it. I don't care, right? And this is where, you know, Satan goes up into the Shemians, and I was like, you know, have you thought about my servant Yov? You can afflict him with everything, but you are not allowed to touch his soul. And that's what Satan did. And correction from the last video, Yov's children did not die because they was doing birthday rituals. What it was is they were so accustomed to their wealth that they was like, why do we have to serve the poor? They started speaking in a haughtiness ruach. So Yov would try to go and put offerings out so their sins would be acquitted. However, when they died, right, because even when Yov lost all his cattle and stuff, he still gave praise to the Most High Yahuah. Satan was upset with that, so what he did was disguise himself as a king over there in Persia and started telling the people what Yov was doing, lying pretty much, saying that Yov was pretty much being messy. That's what Satan does. And so the people came over there and started stealing, killing, and destroying his things. Satan was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna kill his children. So he let the house fall upon the children. Because Satan was upset that Yov had patience. He had fortitude and then he had patience. So he thought, well, maybe I could do this to his children and he'll lose his patience, right? But it still didn't shake Yov. And so Satan can come in different forms, right? He tried to come through his wife because his wife, at that point, they had lost everything. However, Yov's children, regardless of them speaking haughtiness against the Most High Yahuah, Yov did see them transition into the esteem of Abba Yahuah, which means they went to the Shemians. They was not condemned to hell. Same as his wife. She were too, because there was a point in time when his so-called friends came and Yov was like, lift me up. And they lifted him up, and he said, look to the east. And when they looked to the east, they was able to see his children, and his wife didn't believe. At this time, she's now working as a slave to a master, and she had worked herself to beyond exhaustion, and she died. That's the same wife that said, curse Yah and die. And Yov wouldn't do it, because about that time, she was so desperate for bread. She didn't have money, and she came across Satan, and Satan was in the form of a bread seller. And he said, if you have money, give me the money for the bread, and this bread will last you 3 yeomans, right? And she said, well, I don't have bread. So he was like, well, give me your hair. And she allowed Satan to cut off her hair, y'all, for some bread. What is there to gain the whole world, just lose your soul? But I believe she repented, so that's why she wasn't condemned to hell, even though she allowed Satan to cut off her hair. Sound like Samson, right? So what I love about Yov is, after he was falsely accused by his friends, Abba does tell Yov to pray and intercede for their behalf. There was one friend called Elihu that Satan was using to speak, and because of that, he was the only one that was not forgiven by Yahuah. He was condemned to hell. And but when it came to Yov's time of leaving the Eretz, he gave inheritance, and we know that he was a man of abundance of land. He gave the land to his sons, but his daughters, he gave them things from the Shemayim, something that's everlasting. You know what I'm saying? That when it came down to his departure, they was able to see and be a witness to his transition, his soul leaving. You know what I'm saying? Even though his body was going into the Eretz, they saw his soul being transitioned into the Shemians. You know what I'm saying? But it's interesting, his sons could not see that. So his sons received an earthly inheritance, but his 3 daughters received a Shemian, a Kodesh inheritance, that one could sing and Shemian hymns. The other one could, it's just amazing. I thought that was so beautiful. One received like a language, like she literally could speak in the dialects of this Seraphim, and the other one she received like a girdle where the enemy could not touch them, would not be able to wound them. And I was like, wow, Abba, you gave that to Yov's daughters, but you did not give that to the sons. There's something very significant of that. It's something, what I learned from the story of Yov is Abba gives things to his daughters. It's more significant than his sons. And I believe that's why he always said the daughter of Zion, because it's more to us than what we've been taught. David was like, why didn't we receive land? You remember like Musha, one of the daughters came to Musha and said, I come from my inheritance of the land. But Yov's daughters received something that was everlasting, which was eternal, and he had to explain that to them. So, like I said, I would, suggest any and all person to go read the story, the Testament of Yov, because it gives you so much understanding of the story of Yov. But it also is a metaphor of the long-suffering Yahusha had to go through, what we all, those that have gone through the process, have endured. But there's such an everlasting healing. And you don't have to just receive your healing when you're transitioning into the Shemians, but Abba can restore you 100-fold. Yov lived to be 244 years old. Look how, regardless of what he gone through, he started his process at the age, I think, of 80. But how Abba added on to his life. You know what I'm saying? 100-fold, but added more years onto his life like he did Hezekiah. That says a lot, right? And so it's more I could say about this, but I think I'm done. But like I said, go read the story of Yov. Shalom. So part 3 of what I was saying about Yov's story, what we can learn about Yov is the moment that a lot of us turn back to Yahuah, you're going to go through your process. There is a such thing as long suffering. But it also goes with that scripture, those that endure to the end will avail much, right? Paul was all about finishing the race. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't about looking back at his past or having no regrets. He was about finishing the race. And regardless of what he suffered, he saw it as it was all according to Abba's will. You know what I'm saying? That's why this whole thing with Christianity, they like to paint this whole walk like you're not going to suffer. Like there's not no endurance, like there is no patience, but you have to be developed in all the fruits of the Ruach, right? But however, Christianity like to paint it as there is no judgment, there is no pain, there is no suffering, it's just quiet and peaceful and blissful, and you get all these blessings. Yes, you do get blessings, but you're going to go through some stuff before you receive those breakthrough blessings, right? Because it's all about your heart posture. And on that note, Abba was always aware of Yov's heart posture, even though he said he hated Esau. But see, in Yov's case, Yov realized that the things that people was worshiping was not, he began to question, right? Instead of bowing, he said, is this the allure that, has created all this? And because he began to ask questions, a messenger of Yahuah came, you know what I'm saying, and revealed to him that no, they're bowing down to Satan. But however, because you've asked this question, you will be revealed, or Abba will reveal himself to you. You're going to go through these things because you want to tear down an idol of Satan. But however, because of your endurance, because you're going to endure every trial and tribulation he's going to throw at you, you're going to be restored 100-fold. And so we see in Yov's story that he was afflicted physically, mentally, and emotionally. That he had Satan come in different forms of people, right? In a place of need, you know what I'm saying? He came as a beggar at first, and said, and Yov realized, you're not a beggar, you're more so Satan. I know who you are. If you do what you do, stop hiding behind things and just face me. You know what I'm saying? And Satan did say, I feel like I'm fighting a wrestler. You know what I'm saying? And that's what he does. He wrestles with our soul. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like Jacob with the messenger. He wrestled all night, and his name got changed to Yashriel, right? Because he endured, right? He pushed through. But it wasn't with Satan. He was fighting with the messenger of Yahuah. But it just goes to show, you'll have sometimes your spouses, because of the warfare, and they happen to be part of that warfare, they'll try to get you, we suffering, why won't you just curse him and go back to doing worldly things? I remember you was a hustler, we had money coming in, and all of a sudden we ain't got, things like that. He'll come after your prized possession, which is your children, and try to tear you down. What you was accustomed to of lavish living. But what I love about Abba is he restored Yov 100-fold. What he said to Yov surely came to pass. But see, people in Christianity think it's supposed to be a given thing. But see, Abba gives what people deserve. Just like the judgments that's going on, he giving people what they have sown onto other people. You judge, you shall be judged. What you have sown unto people, you shall reap what you sow, right? He's giving people what they deserve. If you have sown, you have give, if you have not let your right hand know what the left hand is doing, as in you ain't going on TikTok showing, you know how people like to be like this and showing what they're doing for homeless people just so they can be considered as a good person, which there's no, Yahusha said there's no such thing as a good person. But anyway, but when you do things in quietness, you know what I'm saying, you will get baruched for those, the fruits of your labor, as in people will come back and baruch you because you have baruched them. And that's what Yov did. He used what he had, whatever resource and supply he had, he helped other people with it, whether they could afford it or not. That's the tithing right there. And that's why he was so baruched. And even though he lost it, this is another reason why you should read it. What I love about Yov is after he prayed for his friends and he came back into town, he received a girdle from Abba Yahuah, and well, before he received this girdle of healing, the gird, they asked Yov, pretty much almost like the people said, what is it that you need? He said, bring me some sheep and bring me some silver and gold. And guess what he did? Yov went back to getting the supplies he needed so he can help the poor people. He went back to doing what he was doing before. Once he got resources, he went back doing what he was doing before, which was caring for the benevolent, the people. And because of that, it wasn't no time where Yov was restored 100-fold, like he never lost anything. That's when Abba came and gave him the girdle to gird his loins. And that's when his body was restored to full strength and healing, like he was never sick. Actually, matter of fact, his mind even forgot about what it was like to be sick. Until even when he was dying, because he had that girdle on, he wasn't even wounded. He wasn't even feeling pain of the sickness. He was just prepared to transition and was just telling his children instructions. You know what I'm saying? Just like what the 12 patriarchs did. They gave their children instructions, what to do and what not to do. Always give praise and esteem to Abba Yahuah. Use the resources that has been given to you as inheritance to help other people. Not keep it for yourselves. Not be hoarders. Not to do things of the world, but do things in a lawful way that's going to be honoring to Abba Yahuah. That's going to bring him esteem in the arrest. Bruh. So I give all praise to the Most High Yahuah for Yov's story, because a lot of us have gone through a lot. We don't look like what we've gone through, but what we need to understand is Abba's judgment is righteous judgment. Whether it's suffering or you being baruched, he does not judge in error, and that's what people need to understand. Satan is only allowed to do what Abba allows him to do, and it's to test where we are in our walk with him. We're going to face trials and tribulation. There is going to be persecution. You're going to have people lying on you, but you're going to be tested based on your heart posture. Your friends, looking at the birds outside. Your friends try to come and ask him to test if he was sane by asking him questions that he couldn't even answer, that only Abba Yahuah could answer. And that's why Abba was furious with him, because he's like, you came at my servant, accusing him and trying to test if he was sane or not by asking him questions that y'all knew he could not answer you, and y'all didn't even have an answer for. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have people like that. That's why it's pointless of fighting or fussing with people that try to be Bible thumping people and they don't even know what they're talking about. You're just wasting your time. Let Abba deal with them. Sometimes you got to just be there in silence, because we don't have all the answers. Only Abba does, right? But you have to stay humble. And when you stay in a place of humbleness and not curse them, not retaliating against them, this is where you're going to receive so many blessings 100-fold, not even things that you haven't even asked for, because I was saying you're worthy and that you deserve it. So, like I said, go back and read the Testament of Yov. It's really going to speak to your Ruach. those that have ears to hear, let them hear what the Ruach is saying. So on that note, I hope you all have a wonderful, stay close to Abba Yahuah always, because he is going to steer us in the right direction at all times. That's all I have to say. Barak Shalom.